Okay, let's dive into what is, without a doubt, one of the most brutal, pivotal conflicts in all of human history, the Battle of Stalingrad. This wasn't just another battle. This was a meat grinder, a single, horrifying event that literally changed the entire course of World War II.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did the fight for a single city, a city, by the way, that was completely smashed to pieces on the banks of the Volga River, end up being the turning point of the biggest war in history? It sounds insane. Well, let's get into it.
I want you to just picture this for a second. It's the winter of 1942. The city of Stalingrad is, it's a frozen hellscape. We're talking shattered buildings, frozen bodies everywhere. And at the heart of it all, this wasn't just about armies clashing. No, this was a deeply, deeply personal duel between two of the most ruthless dictators in history, Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. And the ultimate prize? A city that just so happened to bear Stalin's name.
All right, let's jump right into the heart of this thing, the world's bloodiest battle. By late 1942, Hitler's army, an army that seemed absolutely invincible after crushing most of Europe, is suddenly stuck, bogged down in some of the most savage fighting anyone has ever seen.
So here's the situation on the ground. You've got the German 6th Army versus the Soviet 62nd Army. And get this, the Germans have already taken 90% of the city. I mean, victory looks like it's just days, maybe hours away. But that last 10%, it turns into an absolute fortress. The Soviets are just clinging to the riverbank, fighting for every single building, every room, even every pile of rubble. And just when things couldn't get worse for the Germans, winter hits.
But you've got to ask, how did they even get here? Why was this city so important? To really get why they were fighting so desperately in the rubble, we need to rewind a bit and look at Hitler's grand plan and, more importantly, his fatal arrogance. The seeds of Stalingrad were sown way back. It all starts with Germany's humiliation after World War I, which, of course, fueled Hitler's rise to power. He promises to make Germany great again, and in a wild twist, he signs a non-aggression pact with his sworn enemy, Stalin. But that was never going to last. In 1941, he betrays Stalin and launches Operation Barbarossa, the single biggest land invasion in the history of the world. So why invade the Soviet Union in the first place? Well, it was really a toxic mix of reasons. First, ideology. He absolutely hated communism and wanted it destroyed. Second, land. He wanted what he called Lebensraum, or living space, for Germans in the East. Third, and this is a big one, resources. He was desperate for the huge oil reserves in the Caucasus. But then, there was the ego. The chance to capture a city named after his arch-nemesis, Stalin? Oh yeah, that was a propaganda prize he just couldn't pass up. And right here, this is arguably the fatal mistake, the one that seals their fate before the real fighting even begins. Hitler gets impatient. He wants it all, and he wants it now. So he does something crazy. He splits his southern army group. He sends one part to grab the oil fields in the Caucasus, and the other, the 6th Army, to take Stalingrad. He's trying to do two massive things at once, and what that really does is weaken both pushes. Okay, so the Germans are stretched thin, but they're still closing in. Now the ball is in the Soviets' court, and Stalin, with his back against the wall, is about to unleash a counter-strategy that is just a combination of pure brutality and shocking tactical smarts. And it starts with this, one of the most infamous military orders ever given. Not one step back. Stalin's order number 227. It was simple and it was absolutely ruthless. If you were a Soviet soldier and you tried to retreat, you would be shot. Not by the Germans, but by your own side. It was a clear message. Hold Stalingrad or die trying. Period. No other options on the table. Then you get this brilliant but absolutely terrifying tactic from the Soviet commander in the city, General Vasily Chukoy. He called it hugging the enemy. He literally ordered his men to get as close to the Germans as possible. We're talking grenade throwing distance. Why? Well, the logic was brutal but genius. If you're that close, the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, can't bomb you without hitting their own guys. And just like that, Germany's single biggest advantage was neutralized. And the Soviet defense was so much more than just regular soldiers. The ruined city itself became a weapon. You had snipers like the legendary Vasily Zaitsev, turning the rubble into their personal hunting ground, creating a reign of terror. You had the Night Witches, these incredible all-female bombing regiments that would fly these rickety planes at night and just terrorize German camps. Civilians, men and women, were forced to dig trenches, sometimes even fight with their bare hands. And then Then came Russia's oldest and most reliable ally, General Winter. We're talking temperatures dropping to -30°C. The Germans were just not prepared for it.
So, while the Germans were slowly bleeding to death inside the city, the Soviets were planning a masterstroke. In total secrecy, they were gathering a massive force, over 1 million soldiers. But here's the brilliant part. They didn't attack the German 6th Army head-on. That would be suicide. Instead, they smashed into the much weaker Romanian and Italian armies that were guarding the German flanks. Those flanks just completely collapsed. And then, in a classic pincer move, the two Soviet forces met up and slammed the trap shut.
And just like that, the hunter became the hunted. We're talking about 330,000 German soldiers now completely trapped inside the very city they had almost conquered. Their fate was sealed. They were stuck in a pocket of ice, starvation, and death. You'd think they'd try to break out, right? Nope. Incredibly, Hitler forbade it. He promised their commander, Friedrich Paulus, that his air force would supply the whole army from the air. I mean, it was pure fantasy. The Luftwaffe could only deliver a tiny fraction of the food and ammo they needed. The 6th Army was basically abandoned. Just look at that number, 330,000 men, an entire army. This was the pride of the German military, and they were caught in a death trap they had walked right into. And for weeks, they were just left there to freeze and starve. And as the weeks dragged on, they were just decimated by starvation, frostbite, and constant Soviet attacks. And in a final, unbelievably cruel move, Hitler promoted Paulus to field marshal. Why? Because no German field marshal in history had ever surrendered. It was a sick message. But Paulus defied him. On February 2nd, 1943, he surrendered what was left of his army, 91,000 starving, broken men. But even for those 91,000 who surrendered, the horror was far from over. They were marched off to Soviet prison camps, the gulags, and their ordeal there was so brutal that out of those 91,000 men, fewer than 6,000 ever saw Germany again. Just think about that. It was the complete and utter annihilation of an entire army. So yeah, the surrender at Stalingrad wasn't just the end of a battle. It was truly the end of an era for Hitler's Third Reich. This was the battle that changed absolutely everything, sending shockwaves all the way back to Berlin.
I mean, look at this. The change couldn't be more stark. Before Stalingrad, Germany was always on the attack. They were unstoppable. After Stalingrad, they were always on the defensive. The myth of Nazi invincibility completely shattered. This was the beginning of the long, bloody retreat that would end in the ruins of Berlin 2 years later. And the human cost, it's just almost impossible to comprehend. Nearly 2 million casualties, soldiers and civilians, in this one battle. Let me put that in perspective for you. That is more than the total casualties for the United States and Great Britain in the entire war combined. To this day, it remains the single bloodiest battle in human history. So when you boil it all down, Stalingrad was the point of no return for Nazi Germany. It wasn't just about losing soldiers and tanks. It was a psychological blow. They lost their momentum, their morale, and that core belief that they were absolutely destined to win. The beginning of the end started right here, in the rubble of Stalin's city. And that leaves us with a huge, kind of chilling question to think about. What if Hitler's ego hadn't gotten the best of him? What if he'd never even attacked Stalingrad and just focused all his strength on those oil fields? Could he have actually won the war on the Eastern Front? It's easily one of history's biggest and most terrifying what-ifs.